Even though you might feel that things are happening to you and you're out of control, you're not. You can regain that control if you choose to. And if you choose to, help is available.
Welcome to Women Thrive Season 5. This season, you can expect incredible conversations with women from all around the world. We at Women Thrive, not only do we put on incredible conversations with women, host events, retreats, publish a magazine, publish books, and we have created a platform for every woman to shine and share her message. So you right now tapping into a podcast that is globally recognized as the place for women to be and share their message. Be inspired, be part of the conversation, and let's thrive together.
So hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Women Thrive podcast. My name is Abigail Rebecca. I'm so excited today to come to you and to talk about some really important things, and also to introduce you to another one of our wonderful Women Thrive speakers who will be speaking on the Women Thrive 2026 Summit. So the question that I wanted to ask you today is around like the trajectory of your life. Do you feel like you're on course? Do you feel like you are achieving all of your goals, that you are walking a very clear path to where you want to be, who you want to be? Or does it feel like things have gone off a little bit, right? That you're not exactly on that path, and maybe some choices and decisions that you've made have not been aligned to your values, to your goals, to your big vision, and certainly to your dreams. Well, our speaker today, and the amazing woman that I'm interviewing today, wants to talk to us about this, because we all have choices in life, and sometimes we might feel that we don't have a choice in a certain matter, but actually we do. We have a choice. We can say yes, we can say no to something, we can empower ourselves, but actually sometimes it might not feel like you have the confidence to make the choice that you really want to go with, and maybe it feels like you're going a little bit with the status quo. So this is going to be our conversation today. I would love to introduce her with her official bio. So I would love to introduce you to Annette Williams. She's the founder of Silverbrook Hypnotherapy, where she specialises in helping professional women get the credit they deserve by unblocking their confidence to stand up and speak out. Annette believes that everyone is entitled to live a life they love without limitations, and that boosting your self-belief can be truly transformational. So before becoming a cognitive behavioural therapist, Annette had a distinguished 38-year career as a BBC TV producer, where she worked with everyone from Hollywood A-listers and the royal family to first-time presenters and members of the public. Annette's unique approach blends creative industry experience with bespoke therapeutic techniques, including hypnosis, to address issues like performance anxiety, public speaking fears, social anxiety, and phobias. So welcome, Annette. It's amazing to have you here.
Thank you very much, Abigail. I'm delighted to be here.
I love that you are speaking here about confidence and about overcoming any of the limiting beliefs. And we might have women that are watching this podcast right here, right now, that really want to do something like this. Maybe they want to be a guest on a podcast, they want to speak on stages, they want to put themselves out there, and maybe not feeling the confidence to be able to do that. So I think this is a really interesting conversation that we're having today, and also to give ourselves choices to make the decisions to do these things that empower us and give us confidence to live our lives that way.
Absolutely. I mean, I've experienced this myself. I see clients with it. I see it with the students that I work with and the people I've worked with throughout my career. Helping people stay aligned and true to their heart's desires in a path going forward. With that comes happiness, fulfillment, some challenges, of course. There's no fast track to avoid challenges in life, but doing something that is true to yourself and where you feel in control of the situation rather than things are happening to you is a real important step in feeling in control and having that self-belief and that empowerment back.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? I think before we pressed record, you were talking about it's the difference between being a horse, like letting the horse lead you, or being on the horse. It's actually making those decisions to make conscious choices that are aligned with our value and our mission and our vision in life, as opposed to kind of being sidetracked by other people, because other people can be really distracting, can't they?
They can, and it's important to realize that we are in control of not everything that happens to us, but to large proportions, both in our personal and our professional lives. And the difference between responding to other people's demands, pressures on you, as compared to you deciding the path that you want to follow, is huge, because you have no control in that first example. That is the equivalent of being dragged along behind the horse. Whereas when you're in control of your decisions, it is you on the horse, working with the horse, but deciding the direction of travel. And sometimes it can be easier to just go with the flow and let things happen to you. But in my experience, that doesn't bring the satisfaction, and can often, through subtle increments, kind of take you away from who you are and what you want to do, and further away from those goals that we all have, but can sometimes end up at a far more remote distance away from that. And then obviously it's harder to get back on track. So it's being aware of decisions, those little decisions we make every day, and those big decisions that come along at various stages of life, and using the knowledge, that the best knowledge that we have at the time, and giving things proper thought to make sure that what we do is taking us towards our goal rather than towards somebody else's goal.
I'd love to find out a little bit more about you. Obviously, I gave an intro to you then, but just to understand more about how you got into this. Like, your background is really interesting, and the experience that you bring. And so you have this career at the BBC, and now you're a therapist. I know that there's a lot of strings to your bow, but one of the things that we were talking about there was hypnotherapy. What's your story? How did you get to what you're doing now?
I realise now I was one of the fortunate people that knew from a young age what I wanted to do. So that was my goal, really clearly identified from being a teenager, which was to work in television. And so the decisions I made were all helping me get as close to that goal as they could. And so that helped me I got into TV, and I had a fabulous career. I really did. 38 years. I loved it. Yeah, there were some challenging moments in there, but I knew I was doing something that fulfilled those needs in me. I enjoyed working with people. I enjoyed making content for children. I specialise in children's program, and knowing that the content I was making was having an impact on them and helping them see the world in a different way, and recognizing how they fit into that world. So the job itself fulfilled. Creative, yes. Doing good, yes. Challenging, yes. But of course there were tough times with it, but it was joyous. And so I knew how it feels to be aligned to what it is that you want to do. And I helped many hundreds of people that worked with me over those years follow their goals. And some of them stayed in the industry. Some of them realized that it wasn't for them. They thought it was, but they were attracted by the wrong things. So I've seen people come and go. I've seen people skyrocket and had huge, huge success. And other people that, when they properly considered it, realized this wasn't for them. They thought it was, but it wasn't. Their heart actually laid elsewhere. So I did that for nearly four decades. And then at the end, the choice, I didn't have a choice. That's probably the one time in my career where I didn't have a choice, because my role was made redundant. They had a big restructure. And that lack of choice initially felt very new to me. But then I realized I do have a choice, because I can choose to accept that this closure of my role meant that this was the end of my career, or it was an opportunity to then question, what is it that I still want to do? Have I still got more to give? What drives me now? Because I was very different at 60 than I was in my early 20s when I joined the BBC. But I hadn't necessarily, because I was enjoying what I was doing, kind of had the opportunity to reevaluate. But having a decision enforced on me, your job is closing, forced me then to think, okay, so what do I want to do now? And I realized that everything I'd done throughout my career, if you take away the actual making of a TV program, was still about helping people find clarity with what it is and what they're doing, showing alternative perspectives so that people make more informed decisions about what they can do, what opening the world to them. And those are very transferable skills. So hypnotherapy felt like a great new challenge for me, where I could draw on some of that experience, but still almost achieve the same results, but working with individual clients rather than millions of viewers. And also at the same time, I did become a lecturer at university, where I could also impart those skills to then allow the students who are studying TV to realize, is this the career for them? These are the make informed decisions at that crucial age, post university. What do you do next? And now I am a business owner and a lecturer, drawing on the experience and expertise, but consciously here. And there've been challenges, there have been highs and lows, but when you've made the decision, a proactive decision, you are stronger and more able to cope with the low points because it's your choice. Nobody forced me to do this. And that is hugely powerful. That kind of gives me the boost, knowing that, yeah, I know what the goal is in end, because it's my goal. I decided it. And even when times are tough, that power is enough to motivate me and to keep me going. And this is why I believe so strongly in choices, because when you know it's your choice, there's something, it gives you that extra little bit of oomph to help you through and to keep you going. Whereas if you're doing somebody else's bidding, if you're responding to somebody else's requests, they might not align with what it is that you want to do. So yeah, choices power our progress. And by owning them, as many as you can, it reinforces your resilience. And that's why they're so important to me and to everyone.
I love that, Annette. I love how you've reframed that. When you were speaking, I was reflecting back on a similar situation that I had. Well, it would have been about 10 years ago now, where I was in the same position. I was made redundant from my corporate role. Well, I was approached to be made redundant in my corporate role. And I'd actually asked for it 3 months ago, and they laughed me out of the office and said, that's never going to happen. Like, we're not going to pay you to leave. And then all of a sudden it happened. So there was a part of me that was like, aha. And then even though I think what I love what you're talking about here is, even though sometimes it might feel like that is not your choice, that's not a decision that you would have necessarily made, you can choose how to react to it. So you can choose your emotions, you can choose your approach to it, and then you can choose the way that is actually managed within that container. So, for example, throughout my redundancy process, I was asking for options. So I was like, well, if you're going to make me redundant, I'd like a week off so I can go and retrain. That's when I went and retrained at the London College of Fashion. So even though I felt like you could often feel hopeless, actually you can still make choices within the choices, and you can still then empower yourself, like you say, to be able to move forward and go, okay, now I'm owning this. This is my decision. I'm happy with it. Let's go and let's make this successful.
It is absolutely that. I mean, sometimes when things happen, you feel overwhelmed and you lack clarity about what's going on. And so it's natural to have a reaction when something happens. I'm not going to pretend that when I got the news that my job was closing, that I was very upset about it, because I loved that job. I loved the people that I worked with. And more crucially, that wasn't my decision. And I was upset. And you have to take a time to regroup and to think about, okay, so what does this mean? And to not let that decision that somebody else made impact and change who I am. Okay, so I couldn't control it, but I can, exactly as you said, I could control the way I responded to it. But it wasn't like they said, well, Annette, your job's closing. Like, great, let's go do something else. It was, no, I needed time to reflect. I needed time to heal. I needed time to grieve from that the largest part of my life was spent in television. But then not let that just stay stuck in that situation, to not go, okay, that's it. I've had a good run. Here we go. It was to go, no, I still want to do stuff, because that is important to me, to make changes, to help people, to use my creativity is an essential part of who I am. And I wasn't going to let that stop me. I just needed to pivot. I just needed to change. I just needed to see, what can I do now?
I'm sorry, Annette. I'm laughing my head off when you said pivot because this is a standing joke with Annette. She's like she's in the community and sometimes we'll use that word pivot, quite a well-known word within this community. And Annette's like, every time I hear the word pivot, I think of Ross Chandler in Friends with the piano.
It's classic, isn't it? But yeah, it is. And I use that word consciously because it makes me laugh to think of that. But not pivoting is not necessarily a bundle of laughs when you're in the midst of it. I say there are challenges, but if it's something that you're driving, if you're the one steering the wheel to make that 90-degree turn, that's much better than flying around in the back of the car where somebody else decides the journey.
I wanted to ask you, Annette, with your experience, the work that you do now, I love that you bring all of this experience to the table in your business now. So it must be just such a pleasure when your clients come and work with you because you have all of this knowledge, experience. I know that you were someone who was really highly regarded in your former career, someone that would coach and mentor people through change, transformation, finding their confidence, stage fright, all of the things that can come up for us when we push ourselves out of our comfort zone and the lights go on, right? And then all of your leadership experience and your creativity. So you've brought all of that to the table, and then you've combined this with these beautiful methodologies that you've learned through all of your experience. What is your opinion around why people can often make choices that aren't necessarily what they want to do? You were talking about it earlier about making choices that can take you off track. Why do you think it is that people can very often do that?
There's a number of reasons that people sometimes take what seems like the least line of resistance or making decisions. A lot of that is fear of the unknown. And so the familiar feels more comfortable. So sometimes staying with the status quo feels safer. But then it's a case of questioning, well, what's the validity of those fears? And a lot of fears we're only born with two fears: fear of falling, fear of loud noises. Every other fear is something that we've learned, either from our family, our upbringing, or the community that we live in, the experiences that we go through. And one of the first things I do with anybody, and I used to do in TV actually, is to question what that inner voice is saying in their head and what are their beliefs, and then asking them, okay, that's what you believe. Now, how true is that? And how much influence should that belief have over what you're doing? Because the answer to any situation lies in the individual. When I work with a client, my job is to unlock and remove the barriers that are stopping them fulfill their dreams, follow what it is that they want to do, know their true self. But some of these barriers, some of these obstacles, some of these thoughts and the way we think and behave in a situation are imposed on us from others. It's almost like trying to get fresh sheet of paper and letting people realize that the things maybe they've believed are not doing something new, or you're going to fail. It's like, well, where's the evidence to suggest you're going to fail? Have you ever failed when you've done something new? No. Okay. So if you're looking at it analytically, then you're weighing it up, doing a pros and cons and helping people have those techniques so they don't just go with how they feel, because people tend to believe their feelings without then adding on the thought behind it, the logical thought. And feelings are just the way we interpret our emotions. And one emotion can be interpreted in many different ways. But if you don't know that, you believe what you feel. I talk about going with your gut feeling, but actually that's not just going on a whim. That is about gut feeling after you've properly critiqued and looked at what the options are. So it's not just the feeling, I feel I want to do this. When I switched careers, I knew I wanted to do something, but I needed to question what that was and not go with, I could have gone and tried something else in TV. No, I wanted to do something else. So fear is a big one. Then there is what other people expect you to do. And depending on where you are in terms of your own self-belief levels and your own confidence levels, we can give too much value and weight to the opinion opinions of others. And obviously they have their own agenda. It may suit their purpose for you to stay doing what it is that you're doing or not do what you want to do and all of those things. And you may have very best intentions to help that person out. But gradually, if you start always adapting what you do to meet somebody else's needs, there is a high risk that you will go further and further away from what it is that you want to achieve. So it comes back to decisions and making conscious, cognitive, rational decisions when you need to.
Who do you work with? Like, who are your clients? Like, what are they aspiring to be? I'd love to know about your community and the clients that you work with.
Well, that's a very interesting question, because if you ask me who the clients are, I would give you a different answer to how the clients would describe themselves. So what my description of the clients are is they tend to be women. I've worked with brilliant women throughout my career, and I know often, not exclusively, but often they are the ones that need a little bit more encouragement to fulfill their potential. So if you ask me, who do I work with? I work with brilliant women who are being held back by something. But if you ask my clients, they will say they are somebody who can't do anything and they don't know where they're going. So it's the same person, but I see their potential and they see the barriers. And that's why it works so well, because they now have somebody championing them, cheerleading them, pointing things out that often people don't do. But particularly in the UK, there's a slight habit of not complimenting people, not celebrating successes as much. And so, but people are very quick to criticize, very quick to give negative feedback, less so to give positive feedback. But we need both to understand, to get a balanced perspective. And when I work with clients, I am often pointing out things that they've done, like things where they need to question the belief that they've had. And I see no evidence of that, and neither can they when I ask them about it. So it's about me championing, cheerleading, giving them some tools and techniques, some things to empower them, because once you feel empowered, that gives you confidence. And the more you do, the more you push yourself from your comfort zone out into your growth zone, and then ultimately reduce the size of your danger zone. This is the world that we live in. That's how we grow. And a lot of the women I work with have either not been encouraged, or something has happened and this one issue has dominated everything else and is an actual physical barrier to keeping them back. But I don't see that barrier. I see the person behind it, and I help them see over that barrier to the person they could become.
Yeah, I love the work you do. It's so valuable, and it's interesting, isn't it, how we can really look at life through the filters that have been created growing up, childhood experiences. I'll look out on life. It's really interesting when you say that actually we're born with two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises, and all the things that have been created through experiences, very often at a very young age. I remember when I first started my business, so I left corporate as we're recording this like 9 years ago and set up my business, and very quickly realized that I needed to be visible. I needed to be able to talk about the things that I really wanted to talk about, and be on camera and be on stages and do all the things, right, that we do to be able to be seen and to be visible. And one of the huge limiting beliefs and fears that I uncovered was the fear of rejection, because when I was little, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So my parents used to take me door knocking from a very, very early age, and we used to get the door slammed on our faces. So that was my experience. I dreaded it. Every Sunday we'd go out and it'd be really cold, and we'd knock on someone's door and then we'd get shouted at, or the door would be slammed. And I didn't realize that I had that throughout the whole of my corporate career until I then started my business. And then it started to show up, this fear of rejection that had developed through those experiences. So, what you're doing for your clients is it's so valuable, Annette, because there are incredible, brilliant women in this world that are not living out their potential, and they're not achieving a level of happiness that actually they deserve because they're so worried about the opinions of others and being judged and being criticized and being rejected and failing and all of these fears that can stop us from going forward and being incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're spending your life second guessing what somebody else wants or expects of you, one, that's exhausting. Two, the chances are you're probably going to guess the wrong answer because we don't know. We can't live somebody else's life for them. But it's wasting the opportunities that we have and knowing what will make us happy. And I mean, yes, I had a brilliant career. I loved what I did in TV. I'm loving what I'm doing now. But if you ask me what was the most important decision I ever made, it was to become a mum. And you may think, well, lots of people are mums, but I knew from a young age I wanted to be a mother. And as far as I know, I was able to have children, but circumstances didn't let. But that desire to be a mum was great. So I decided in my 40s, working full time as a TV executive producer, that I was going to adopt as a single woman. And people at the time thought that was crazy. That was so left field for a lot of people who only saw me with my professional hat on. But it's important to not just focus on the professional life and neglect your personal life. And I knew I wanted to at least try to see if it was possible. I didn't know whether you could adopt as a single person. I didn't know whether I'd be suitable, all of these things. But I knew I had to try because otherwise it would always be a regret. Fast forward nearly 20 years now, and it's hands down the best decision I made because that was something I wanted to do. And now I have a daughter who has my entire heart. And I managed to keep work going, but it was a choice. I had to then juggle some other things to make that happen. So if I hadn't made that decision and carried on what was an exciting career that took up a lot of time, I know that right now I would be feeling that there's a gap, there's a piece of the jigsaw missing. And that's why I'm so passionate about people recognizing what it is that they want and at least trying to achieve it. Sometimes not everything in my life has fallen completely into place, but I've tried. And there's something about trying. That's when I'm riding that horse and I'm trying to get to the destination as opposed to, well, it's not going to happen. So just not I even bothered, because that comes back to haunt you. And that is a regret. That would have been a regret. And that's why I'm so passionate about people pushing forward, being proactive rather than reactive as much as they can.
I love that you made that decision, and I would expect that a lot of people would be challenging you around that. And I just wanted to ask actually if anyone was watching or listening to this and had really decided that they wanted to do something in their life and make decisions to lead to that. But there were people in their lives that were being very resistant or trying to talk them out of it or opposing it. What would you say to that person right here, right now? What words of wisdom would you give to that person?
Well, sometimes, the opinions of others aren't coming from a bad place. They possibly don't understand what the motivations are behind. Some of my close friends knew that take my example, my close friends knew that I always I love children, I wanted to be a mum, but possibly those in my professional world didn't know that. So for people like that, there were some very surprised reactions because they didn't know that side of me. But then once I explained, because when you're making a decision, you have to be willing to explain the thought process behind it. Then they came round and could see that this was important for me and understood that I did this later on in life. I was an older mum, but I'd made that decision with professionally, it worked well. And I knew I could juggle that. So I would say if people are saying no, just check that they understand the reason behind it, first of all. And you'll probably find that most of them will warm up to the idea if they understand why you're doing it. If some people are adamantly resistant to it, then, well, that's their right. But also I'd start to question, why are they so resistant to it? Is it because they have a genuine concern? And in which case, always listen to things. It's always good to hear other opinions. But then consider, does it suit them for you not to do this? And whose need are they most concerned about? And weigh up, actually, do you value that opinion? Because there are some opinions that carry more weight than others. And if it's the right thing for you, in my experience, I find that most people who care about you will come on board with that decision because they know it's important to you. And those who don't, possibly because it doesn't suit them. And you can decide to discount. You don't have to listen to everybody. We don't live life by committee. Yeah, it's not everybody's got a vote as to what we do. There are times when you have to consider other people's feelings, of course, but we have the casting vote. We can decide what we do for ourselves, taking into consideration other people's thought and opinions. But ultimately, we have the casting vote.
I love that, Annette. It's so empowering to know that ultimately we can make that decision and other people can choose to support us or not support us. I love your advice on enrolling someone into your bigger idea. I think that's the biggest starting point of everything so that people can really understand like the passion behind it and your why and really get on board with that. And yeah, wise advice, very wise advice. Annette, it's been wonderful speaking to you today.
Thank you. Love it.
Where can people find you if they want to go and find out more about your work?
Great. Well, if you want to find out more about me and the work that I do, then the best starting point is really my website, which is silverbrookhypnotherapy.co.uk. But in terms of where I hang out on social platforms, LinkedIn is a good one, and I'm Annette Williams Silverbrook there. And Instagram, I'm Silverbrook_hypnotherapy. I'm also on Facebook. Brook Hypnotherapy, you'll find me somewhere. But I'd love to connect with people. And if there's anything in my story that has resonated with any of the listeners to this podcast, one, I hope you take some comfort from it, that you are, even though you might feel that things are happening to you and you're out of control, you're not. You can regain that control if you choose to. And if you choose to, help is available. I'm not saying not just from me, but there is. You're not alone. And you will feel so much better when you're back in the saddle.
Annette, we're so excited that you're going to be on the stage. As we're recording this, it's next year. So it's going to be March 2026. I can't believe I'm saying that. 2026. Well, that's the future, right? We're really excited. What are you most looking forward to about being a speaker on the Women Thrive Summit?
What I'm looking most forward to is what I'm actually doing at the moment. It's participating in the process, because I've met some wonderful women who are already speakers going to be at the next conference, and I'm in awe of many of them because they know exactly what they're talking about. I've been quite clear. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be talking about because it's evolving as I learn and as I grow and as I understand more about how I can help people. Because having the slot at the summit is the ideal platform for me to give maximum benefit to the people listening. And so I'm using the time between now and then to consider, well, what can I do? What are the best takeaways? What are the things that I think are most valuable for me to share? And I'm not rushing that process. I'm considering it as a go, but it is being informed and supported by the conversations that I'm having with the other women as we get together to form this fabulous family of fearless women who are there to support, champion, and help us all and help the people who will be attending the summit find their own answers to their own questions and move forward. So I can't wait for the summit, but I kind of don't want, this feels like Christmas Eve. I don't want this period of where I'm enjoying it so much to end. So I'm glad there's still, at the point that we record this, 6 months to go, because this is good fun. I know Christmas Day is going to be fabulous, but I'm enjoying Christmas Eve.
Yeah. And you'll always be a member of the Women Thrive community. You'll always be in the community. We're so happy to have you. And we're so glad that you said yes. I remember our interview very well and just felt a real connection with you and love listening to your story, and your passion for what you're doing is really remarkable. So we're looking forward to your talk, and we're so excited that you're a part of the community, Annette.
Great. Well, it's great to be here, and more power to the arm of the Women Thrive Summit. I think it's got a lot of heart, and in this world, we need that.
Yeah, we do. It's a really good way to end this. Annette, thank you so much for coming on and being a wonderful guest and sharing your knowledge and your expertise and your opinion and just giving us some really, really, really great advice when it comes to making those decisions and whether or not you're going to be influenced by others. So thank you so much for that, Annette.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We really appreciate your support and love for this podcast. We are very excited to be able to introduce some amazing women to you. So please reach out to Annette, go and follow her on socials, connecting with her at LinkedIn, go and check out her website, her work, and also the wonderful women that we have on the stage that we're going to be speaking on the 2026 event, the summit. I mean, my goodness. We have got some wonderful speakers that we're going to be introducing to you over the coming weeks of this series. And please reach out, connect with Annette, ask her questions, reach out to us, ask us questions. If there's anything else that you want to hear, then start that conversation with Annette. Our speakers love for you to reach out to them and to be able to connect with them and let Annette know what your takeaways were from this podcast as well. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Women Thrive Podcast. I'm so thankful for you as a listener for spending time with us, myself and my co-host Abigail, to hear our conversations with our guests. If you have had the opportunity to hear our podcast, do make sure you leave a review and share this episode with your audience as well. This has helped us reach the 5 top % globally ranked podcast, as well as reach more than 30,000 downloads to date. Your support means so much to us, and this is how we get to reach more people around the world. At Women Thrive Media, we're here to amplify voices of women and empower women to take the center stage and shine a spotlight on their messages.